that this is recording. We are looking at skill packet number 6, which is complex numbers, and here in this subskill A and B, we're looking at simplifying radicals with a negative radicand. We're looking at problems like this, like the next 6 problems will be, and that's that you have your imaginary unit I raised to some power. Now, it's not stated as a multiple choice question, but anytime they ask us to determine the value of an imaginary power, there's only one of 4 possible answers. So this is a multiple choice question. I know that my possible answer could be 1, it could be I, it could be a negative 1, or it could be a negative I. Those are my only 4 choices for this answer of I raised to the 14th power. And I also know that if the exponent is an even number, that I can take these 4 choices and narrow it down to 2 choices. With it being an even number, it's either going to be a 1 or a negative 1 that will not be an I or a negative I. So let's look at a little bit more detail of how we determine which of these 2 values it will be. We noticed in class that there was a pattern associated with these powers of I, and the length of that pattern was 4. And you will often see these type of problems called referred to as a cycle or referred to as cyclic. All right, this has a length of 4, meaning that once you get to every repetition of 4 units, the pattern repeats itself. And so that allows us to divide by the length of the cycle, to divide by 4, and to use the remainder of this division to answer this question. So you see over here that I've written 14 divided by 4. Now you would do this on your calculator. I don't, on this computer that I'm working with, I don't have that calculator that I can display. So I'm just doing this by hand, which may be good for you to see, I don't know. 4 goes into 14 3 times. 4 times 3 is 12, and we have a remainder of 2. And anytime that you have division by 4, you have 4 possible remainders. A remainder of 0, we say that the number is divisible by 4, or you're going to have a remainder of 1, a remainder of 2, or a remainder of 3. That's the largest remainder you'll have. If for some reason I had a 4 down here, then I've made a mistake and I need to make my quotient bigger. My remainders are always going to be smaller than 4, or smaller than my divisor. All right, so with a remainder of 2, we already said that we had ruled out I and negative I as possible answers. With a remainder of 2, this I to the 14th simplifies to negative I. All right, so let's look at another one, and let's try to approach it and do it in the same way. Directions are the same. We recognize that we have I to some power. We know that it's a multiple choice problem, that the answer here is either going to be a 1, an I, a negative 1, or a negative I. Every exponent, every power of I is either going to be an even number or an odd number, and that will help us reduce our choices of 4 to a choice of 2 possible answers. With I to the 60th, I can eliminate my I and negative I. I know that if the exponent is an even number, that this is going to simplify to either the number 1 or the number negative 1. Since these problems, we say, have a cycle of 4, we are going to take the exponent 60 and divide it by 4 and look at the remainder. So 4 goes into 6 once. I'm sure that you're familiar from grade school, this division algorithm, but maybe you did it on calculators. Maybe people didn't show you this, or maybe you saw it and didn't remember it. But anyway, there's an established pattern. Now, in some countries, I think they do the algorithm slightly different. 4 goes into 25 times. 4 times 5, 20, and I have a remainder of 0. Okay, so we knew when we saw an even exponent, we immediately ruled out I and negative I, and I was expecting either a remainder of 0 or a remainder of 2 because the exponent was even. I have a remainder of 0. I to the 60th power simplifies to the number 1. We're done. All right, let's look at the next one. Again, we have I to some power. And again, just like the previous problems, we're going to start out and recognize that we could have one of 4 possible answers. That we either are going to have a 1, an I, a -1, or a negative I. And then we can even get lucky and take these 4 choices and narrow it down to 2 choices by just looking at whether the exponent is even or odd. Here we have an odd exponent, so I know my answers are either going to be I or negative I. An odd exponent, I'm going to eliminate 1 and -1 as possible answers. All right, so I claim that when I do my division, when I take this exponent 37 and divide it by 4, that I'll have a remainder. We will not see a remainder of 0. We will not see a remainder of 2. All right, 4 times 9 is 36, and 37 minus 36 is 1. We have a remainder of 1. I to the 37th power will reduce to just I. All right, hope that helps. Let's move on to the next one. Approach it in the same manner. It's got the same directions. It's the same type of problem. We know that we have I raised to some power, and they're wanting us to simplify this, to determine the power of I. We know it's going to be one of 4 possible answers. 1, I, -1, or negative I. And because of this as being an odd number, exponent, it is not going to be 1 or -1. Those would be the answers, possible answers for an even exponent. So I know that I've whittled it down to one of 2 choices, and even if I would guess here it's 50-50, well, I don't like those odds because 50% is a failing grade. I want to get it right every time. All right, so let's look at 91 and divide it by 4, and we're going to have one of 4 possible remainders. However, we've said that we won't have a remainder of 0, that we won't have a remainder of 2. All right, so 4 goes into 9 twice. I'm going to subtract, bring down the next digit. 11 minus 8. I have a remainder. Oh, wait a minute. Did I make a mistake here? It was odd, so it's either going to be a remainder of 1 or a remainder of 3. So yes, I did. It's kind of tired today. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Bring that 1 up. 11 minus 8 is 3. Okay, I am stupid. Told you I was not very good at mental arithmetic. All right. So there. Now a remainder of 3. I know that my answer simplifies to negative I. So my silly mistake right there just is a word of caution that try to do whatever it takes to not make those type of silly mistakes. You know, they may happen, but try to reduce and keep them from happening on a quiz or a test. All right, so let's look at the next problem. We have I raised to some power. We know it's a multiple choice answer. We know that our answer is either going to be 1, I, -1, or negative I. Since my exponent is an odd number, then that rules out 1 and -1. If I take 141 and divide it by 4, I'll have one of 4 remainders. But like I say, we have eliminated. I am not expecting a remainder of 0. I am not expecting a remainder of -1. All right, so let's take 141 and divide it by 4. Oops. I'm writing with the mouse. My wireless tablet doesn't work on this computer, so it's actually a little bit difficult to write these numbers using a mouse and clicking and dragging. Sorry about that. 14 minus 12 to bring down the next digit. 4 goes into that 5 times 20, subtract 1. All right, so there I knew that I was going to either get a remainder of 1 or a remainder of 3 because the exponent, was an odd number, I got a remainder of 1. So I to the 141th power reduces to just I. That's my final answer. All right, so let's look at one more problem in this video. We've got I raised to an even power. Whenever we have that, we know it's going to be one of 4 possible answers. 1, I, -1, or -I. If we take closer detail on the exponent and determine whether it's even or odd, that will help us narrow our choices from 4 choices down to 2 choices. If it's an even number, I know my answer is going to be a 1 or a -1, so I can eliminate the I and the -I as possible answers. So I know that when I take this 316 and divide it by 4, that I will not have a remainder of 1, I will not have a remainder of 3. That I know my remainder is either going to be 0 or my remainder is going to be 2. 4 goes into 34 times 7 is 28. And 31 minus 28 is 3. Let's bring down the next digit. And that goes into that 9 times. And we see that we have a remainder of 0. Alright, so with a remainder of 0, I to the 316th power simplifies to 1. I hope this helps. I will talk to you later. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. I think you will find this skill packet the easiest that we've looked at the entire year. Talk to you later.